Hello ladies and gents, this is another video brought to you by Ant Hood. And today's video is going to be my Solenopsis geminata are getting out of hand. By far these are the most difficult ants I've ever kept in my ant keeping life because they're very deceptive. From the start, when they're founding, they're very easy to look after and I didn't see what the fuss was about. Yes, they stung, keep that in mind that they do sting, but generally speaking, they weren't too difficult. And then I had my 4 days of hell video, which I'll put a link in the top right corner now so you guys can check it out, and everything flipped around with these girls, and I mean that, everything flipped upside down. So here's a clip in case you haven't seen that video. As you can see, they're out all over the place. The outworld is still practical and usable, it's just that they're so small they exploited every weakness they possibly could. Now I did try to amend this issue by taking apart that big outworld and silicon in it, but they just ate through the silicon. So they're getting out everywhere, and not to the extent of this where it was panic stations, but I find an area they get out and then I tape it up with brown packing tape, and I'll show you what I mean. Now I often come home to a scene like this because they've managed to exploit another area and try and get out of it. Now I've got extreme difficulty around these joints here because I can't get the tape around it to seal it off, so they constantly exploit it, and that's on all 3 outworlds, and it's very difficult to try and seal those areas up. So if we look now, this is what the outworlds look like. You see that there's brown tape all around it, and what the little blighters do is if the brown tape is on long enough, they'll chew through the brown tape and they'll get out again. So trying to gauge where they're getting out from is extremely difficult, and it's got to the point of no return. Now I did put an SOS out on my last video of these guys. For any retailer that thinks they can tape these on, by all means get in contact with me, because my only option at the moment is to move on to glass, which comes with its own problems anyway, glass outworlds, but we'll go on to that in a bit. But say it again, if any retailer out there thinks that their outworlds will be able to stop geminata, by all means contact me. I was being very picky, I only wanted square outworlds because of trying to film in round outworlds is difficult because it warps the image, but at the moment just keep them because I'm getting very close to getting rid of this Connolly, unfortunately. I'll take anything you've got. Please buzz me, drop me a line, and I'm happy to pay for it obviously, but I just need something guys because I'm struggling, I really am. So this is my last ditch effort. I've got a cheap tank off of, I think it was Facebook Marketplace for like 10 quid it was, and I got this tank. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to modify it slightly by drilling a hole in it. Now the reason why I've gone for a cheap small tank like this, because if I break it drilling it, then I will be able to not have a massive write-off. So I've got some drill bits, especially for cutting glass, and I'm going to try and drill a hole into this, which I will film because I have filmed it already and I know it worked, by the way. But this isn't without its limitations. As you can see from here, the silicon is thick and it is just literally a walkway all the way up to the top. So I decided to leave it, to be fair, and I'll go into that in a second about why I did that, but it's going to be an issue. And not only that though, if you look at the lid, this is the lid. Now they're going to get all over this. There's holes all over the place with this, as you can imagine, so this isn't really suitable. So at the moment I don't have a lid for this, which with Solenopsis I am massively risking it for a biscuit, because we know Solenopsis, you give them any avenue to get out and they will, and they constantly get past the barriers as well. And it's only the lids on the outwards I've currently got which stops mass escapes, but I've got no choice. Now the first thing I did was measure the tubing that I've got. So as you can see here, it is 13 mils across, which is ideal because the drill bit I've got is 12 mils. So with the flex in the tubing, I should be able to get a nice tight fit in the hole that I'm about to drill. I then got a bucket of water, a little drill bit and a bit of wood, and I'll go into the wood in a second. And now with the tank, I put it on a towel and a pillow in there to catch the broken bit so it doesn't break the other end. I already started drilling it because I completely forgot to show you guys that, and I'm just testing to make sure that the tube's nice and tight, and it is. So these drill bits, I got it off, I think it was Amazon. There was loads of different sizes there, and the diamond coated to cut, they are specifically to cut glass. But I'm drilling this bit of wood and I'll go into that in a second. Now these drill bits you can get off Amazon, I think it was, for like 15 quid, which all in all, if this works, it will be a cost saving anyway, so it's not too bad. So what am I doing here? Why am I drilling a bit of wood? And this is going to be my guide. Now, I am not bothered about being dead center in the middle of the glass here. All I want it to do is literally drill a hole because it's a concept thing. If it works, then I can look at progressing it on and making it all fancy pants or whatever. But at the moment, I simply are damage control. So what this bit of wood will do is it's a template. It will keep the drill bits secure for me in the same position so I'm not skating all over the place when I'm trying to drill. It will also, with the bucket water, you need to keep this cool, so you need to put lots of water on the glass and in the drill bit when you're drilling. This is just me checking to make sure it does fit nice and snug, and it does. Because otherwise it'll overheat and it'll crack the glass. So by drilling this template, I only need to do it once because I'm not going to keep it. I'll show you of that. That's just me checking the depth of it so I know where to drill so I don't drill into the table. So yeah, and this will keep the water in it, so, and it'll keep the drill bit central, and that's kind of important. So this is what I'm doing here. But anyway, I'll stop talking about drilling wood because that's not what you're here for. As always, my angle's absolutely amazing when filming, and yes, I know I need to do some weeding, leave me alone. So yeah, so I'm pouring the water in there to make sure it's nice and lubricated and it keeps nice and cool as well, because we don't want to risk cracking the glass. So then I carry on drilling and I do check it, and as you can see throughout the drilling process, I do apply plenty of water, and then finally I crack through. It falls all the way through to the bottom onto the pillow, which does the exact job it's supposed to do. Now you will find a load of white residue all over the place, but that's just literally the sand from the glass, and I'm not overly concerned about that. As you can see here, I'm applying more water. And this is how I drilled it, and to tell you the truth, it came out a lot better than I expected, so I was relatively pleased with that. Happy days. Did I take a picture of it? I think I took a picture of it. I'll have a look. So as you can see, it's a nice clean cut on this side. Now it's a bit broken on the other side, but I'm really not that bothered by it. But the main thing for me is it's a nice snug fit, and as you can see from this photo here, it is an insanely tight fit, so that worked really well and it was relatively easy. It's not perfectly central, and I really don't give, I should nearly swore then, oops, I really don't care. But what I did do was raise it higher than I normally would for an ant outworld, just because it's glass, and if you put it too near the end where you're trying to cut, you'll likely split it. So I played it safe and did it relatively high. Now moving on to the silicone, I needed to cut it away from the top anyway, but if you notice in this video, I noticed that it's very insecure. Literally the silicone is holding it into place, and if I cut it down, then it will potentially get loose. So the way I went around this was I did a couple of different things. Now, I haven't done it yet, but I don't think I filmed it, but what I've done is I put black insulation tape around the top to secure the top end of it, because I'm cutting away this silicone. I get a sharp knife, and I use that term very loosely because this is not very sharp at all anymore. This is one of my old hobby craft knives, and I cut it down around the silicone. Now I'm not cutting it down all the way to the bottom. All I need to do is cut it to the point, well, I'm getting dizzy, cut it to the point of where I'm going to apply the barrier, and I am putting an insanely thick barrier on here, and I'll go into that a bit later as well. To try and remove as much of the silicone I can, but I really want to see if, because it does affect the structural integrity of the tank, what I want to do, I'm only doing this to one corner because I want to see if they get up the other sides, and I'll go on to that a bit more because I really want to see if the barriers work on the silicone, that is. But I think I knew already the answer to that point before I even started it, but I wanted to experiment to see what it was like. Now if we look here, you'll see I've got 3 different types of barrier on here. I've got the standard PTFE that I normally use on the bottom. I've then got some mineral oil in the middle, and then I've got some high-tech ants. I'm not sure what he uses, to be fair, but it's a lot thicker on the top. And I want to see if they progress through those barriers and what effect those barriers have on the silicone that goes right up to the top, because remember I only cut one of them, corner that is. So I'm ready to experiment with it. So what I've done is one of my old water test tubes, the ants have got into there, and I didn't realise how many were actually in there until I put them in here, which makes you think my estimates on the economy size are woefully underestimating the size of them. But anyway, that's a sidetrack, or a digression, as I like to say. So what I've done is I've got a test tube full of them, and it'll be coming in a very second, I assure you. There you go, and I dropped it in. Now, as you can see, there's quite a few there. Now, what I do here is I leave them to it. I then go off. I think I play Space Engineers because I've got an absolute addiction to that at the moment. So I go downstairs and I play Space Engineers, and I leave them for a while. I've not got a time lapse to that because you can't see much because they're so small. But it's just basically to make sure which barriers they can get past and which ones they can't. If the tubing works with the drill I've put through, to make sure they can't get out. So that is the whole point of this, and this is why I left them for a fair few hours, about 4 hours I think it was, just to give them time to settle in and start exploring and see what the results were. And just so you guys can see, this is one that I've not touched, and the other corner, which I'm going to pan to now, there you go, this is what I've cut. Now there is some residual silicone there, but it is what it is. I can't get it exactly clean, but you can see how the different barriers work, and hopefully we'll be able to find out if they can get past it. So after about 4 hours, I came back to this. As you can see, they've got out. What they've actually used is, I'm not sure if you've seen this video, they've got up the silicone, but here's a key one. When I've cut it, even though there's been some residual silicone left, they can't get past it. That is good to see. So what I ended up doing was cutting all 4 corners. Now this one is a bit lower, but I don't care about symmetry, but just to see how it all gets on. And to tell you the truth, I then left it again overnight to see how they got on. So I then left them all night to see how they got on. Now the first barrier did nothing to them, they just got past it. But what actually stopped them was the mineral oil barrier. Now as you can see here, they've already started sticking some dead to it. Now this was why I've always avoided this mineral oil barrier, but I'm at this point where definitely with this outworld I've got no choice. And to tell you the truth, I am going away for 2 weeks and my wife is going to be looking after my ants. So if Solenopsis is going to get out, she will not be able to deal with it. So I need to use this, at least if nothing else, just to empty out that large outworld, and I'll tell you what I'm about to do with that now. So I know what you're thinking. You look at this picture, you say, what use is that now? It's got tape all over it, ants are getting out all over the place. Yes, they are, because Solenopsis will exploit the smallest 0.5 millimeter gap, which they have been, to get out. But larger species won't be able to get out of this, so this will be still a very functional outworld. And I've also got some glass outworlds, which some of you might know, and you're probably asking yourself, why have I not used these? And it's because I had nothing else to replace it with. But now with this tank that I've just been prepping in this video, I'll be able to move them into that for at least short term, and then free up this outworld so I can use it on these. So I'm going to move my Camponotus nicobrensis, which are doing really well, by the way. I'm not going to be on them recently, but I'm sure I'll think of one soon to do. And I'm going to take these glass outworlds and I'm going to move my Solenopsis into it, because these are probably the best purpose-built glass outworlds yet on the market. There is the issues there with silicone, but there's a lot less silicone for them to get up to. It's a lot tighter made in the corners, so I don't think they'll be able to get through that way. And the lid sits flush on top, so I don't think they'll get through the lids. But it's my only option. So I'm going to take the big outworld and I'm going to replace it with these, and then obviously move my Camponotus nicobrensis into that. But I need a medium tank, and at the very least this glass tank that I've made today will hopefully do the job. But that will be on the next video. I'm hoping to get that video out on Wednesday. This video is already long enough as it is, so it will be a part 2 to this video, and I'll bring it out on Wednesday. But don't worry, I'm still hoping to bring out another video next weekend as well, potentially on my Nicos, because I've not done a video on them for a while. Some people have been asking how I'm getting on, because I've not posted for 2 weeks and I've been very inactive on social medias and stuff like that. Don't worry guys, I am perfectly okay. I am just really struggling at this time of the year to balance work, which I'm doing a lot of overtime at the moment, my home life and my YouTuber life. So I am still there. I will still respond to messages eventually, so don't worry about me guys, I am still about. But thank you for your concerns, it is very much appreciated. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe, and please join me in saying a big thank you to my Patreon supporters, because this channel wouldn't be what it is today without these. So thank you Adam W, Adrian, Antantics, Anty Matters, David D, Jason W, Paul A, Pavance, PJGrant, and the free 530 ski, and I will get your name soon. If you want to become a Patreon supporter, please check out the link down below. But I've also got YouTube members, so I'd like to say thank you to Anty Matters, PJGrant and Wakooshi for your support via your YouTube membership. If you want to join that, I think you just hit the link underneath this video. I say this link, it's actually a button underneath this video, and then subscribe that way. But anyway, that's it for today then guys. I know it's not really been anti-intensive, it's been more about the method behind it, but I look for ages looking for videos to drill holes in tanks and stuff like that. So I hope it's been useful to you guys. If you've got any questions on any of it, please drop me a message and I will get back to you eventually, because I'm very busy at the moment, sorry. But that's it for today then guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and I look forward to seeing my next one. Bye bye for now.